Imagine paying a marketing team every month to report a number to one decimal place, and then finding out that number is statistically indistinguishable from a coin flip. That's not a hypothetical. In 2026, that's the state of most AI visibility measurement. Brands are building entire budgets on dashboards that swing wildly when you run the exact same question twice. And here's the twist that makes this video worth your next 12 minutes. The answer is not to stop measuring. It's to measure like someone who understands what the number actually is, and most of your competitors have no idea. Let me show you how. Welcome to GrowifyLabs. We run SEO in some of the most competitive, highest stakes markets there are: iGaming, finance, crypto, where a decision made on a bad number is a decision that costs real money. Everyone is optimizing for AI search. Almost nobody is measuring it properly, which means most people are flying blind while believing they can see. Today, what to actually measure, a free method you can start this afternoon, which tools are worth paying for, and most importantly, how to tell a real change from random noise. Let's get into it. Start with brutal honesty, because everything else depends on it. AI search visibility is not just harder to measure than rankings, it breaks the core assumption that traditional measurement is built on. Classic SEO works because the index is stable. The same query returns roughly the same results, so a change in your rank means a change in your position. AI-generated answers violate that completely. They're non-deterministic. The same prompt, asked twice, returns different brands, different sources, sometimes a different conclusion. It varies by model version, by phrasing, by whatever context is in the session. And it's worse than a bit noisy. One analysis found citation and mention patterns vary by up to 600 times across platforms. A widely read Forbes piece in August 2026 put it bluntly: published research showed an apparent move from 8% to 11% citation share that could not be distinguished from random noise. Yet most dashboards report a single number to one decimal place anyway. And the cruelest detail? Purchase intent questions, the best tool for X, the ones that actually matter commercially, are the least stable query type of all. The questions you most want to win are the ones the measurement is shakiest on. So, no, we're not going to pretend this is a rankings tracker. We're going to measure it properly, which means measuring it like a statistician, not like a scoreboard. So, what are the real metrics? Four, and they're different from anything classic SEO taught you. 1. Presence, the mention rate. Not are you mentioned once, but how often you're mentioned across many runs of the questions that matter on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, and Google's AI answers. It's a rate, not a yes or no. For context, one 2026 benchmark put the median non-branded mention rate across industries at around 31%. So if you're being named in a third of relevant answers, you're roughly average, and the real game is beating your specific competitors, not the average. 2. Portrayal, sentiment and accuracy. When you are mentioned, is the AI describing you correctly and favorably? This is a category rankings never had. An AI confidently stating the wrong price, a fabricated feature, or an outdated fact about you is a live problem. And some tools now specialize in flagging exactly these hallucinations about your brand. 3. Sources. Which pages and which third-party domains the AI cites when it talks about your space. This is the most actionable metric you have. It tells you precisely what content to create and where to go earn mentions, because it shows you what the machine is actually reading. 4. Share of voice. How often you appear versus named competitors for the key questions. This is the one that matters commercially, because a 40% mention rate means nothing until you know whether your strongest rival sits at 25 or 70. Above roughly a 50% mention rate, share of voice is basically the only metric that still separates leaders. Here's the part almost every guide skips, and it's the whole difference between real data and expensive guessing. Because the answers are non-deterministic, a single run of a prompt tells you almost nothing. So the method has 4 rules. 1. Repeat every prompt multiple times. The practitioner standard is around 5 runs per prompt, per platform, per measurement period. That converts a meaningless yes or no into a mention rate you can actually trust. 2. Always use fresh conversation threads. If your brand was mentioned earlier in a session, the model is biased toward mentioning it again. You'd be measuring your own echo. 3. Fix your protocol and never change it mid-measurement. Same prompts, same phrasing, same settings every cycle. And 4, this is the one that quietly wrecks most people's data. Decide what counts before you count. Does a mention buried in paragraph 3 count the same as a first line recommendation? Does a footnote citation equal an inline brand name? You don't have to be right. You have to be consistent, because most measurement failures aren't the model's fault. They're definition drift. Do that, and a genuine shift stands out from the wobble. Skip it, and you'll celebrate noise and panic over noise in equal measure. You do not need to buy anything to start, and you shouldn't until you've done this. Here's the free baseline. Build a prompt set of the 20 to 50 questions a real customer would ask that should surface you: definitions, comparisons, alternatives, use cases, and the buying questions. Run each one about 5 times in fresh sessions across ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google's AI answers at minimum. For each run, log 3 things: were you mentioned, how were you described, and what sources were cited. Perplexity is your friend here because it shows its sources openly, so you can see exactly where it's pulling from. Total it into mention rates, note your competitors' rates alongside, and rerun the identical set monthly. It's manual and a little tedious, but it's honest, statistically aware data, and it already puts you ahead of most competitors, who are either measuring nothing or trusting a single check. Once the manual baseline gets painful, more prompts, more platforms, continuous monitoring, multiple markets, dedicated tools earn their keep. The category exploded in 2026, so here's the honest map without the sales pitch. At the accessible end, tools like Otterly start around $29 a month and cover the major engines with citation reporting, a sensible first paid step for a small team. In the middle, if you already live in SEMrush or Ahrefs, both have bolted AI visibility modules onto their existing platforms, which removes friction, even if they're less deep than the specialists. Then there's the mid-market specialist here, the peaky AIs and zip ties, built for marketing teams that want depth without an analyst. And at the enterprise end, platforms like Profound and Scrunch offer the widest engine coverage and deepest analysis, usually behind custom pricing and a demo. The buying rule is simple, and it will save you money. Ask exactly what a tool measures and how. Which engines, how many runs per prompt, presence only or portrayal, and sources too. And does it report a rate or a single fragile number? If it can't answer that clearly, or if it promises to boost your AI ranking rather than measure it, walk away. Measurement and manipulation are different products, and anyone blurring them is selling the wrong one. And a word on standards, because the industry just grew one. In August 2026, the IAB released a framework called Measuring Visibility in the AI Era, specifically to help buyers evaluate visibility providers and their methodologies. If a vendor's method doesn't survive that kind of scrutiny, that tells you something. One anchoring point, because it's easy to fall in love with a pretty new dashboard. AI visibility metrics are leading indicators. They are not the outcome. Presence, share of voice, citations, treat them as early signs you're building the right presence. But the outcome that actually matters is still traffic, conversions, and revenue. And there's a real gap here. About 68% of Google searches ended without a click in early 2026. So a rising AI mention rate can genuinely be building demand that shows up later as branded searches and direct visits, rather than trackable clicks. That's fine, but it means you watch both. If your AI visibility is climbing and nothing downstream ever moves, keep asking why, and don't let the dashboard become the goal. The number is a means. The business is the end. So here's the reframe to take away, and it's the whole philosophy of doing this well. The AI visibility number is unreliable, and you should measure it anyway. Not because the number is precise. It isn't, and pretending otherwise is how people get fooled. You measure because a stable methodology, a shared vocabulary, and the discipline to reason about a probabilistic signal are worth more right now than any single figure. The teams that win the next 2 years aren't the ones with the prettiest dashboard. They're the ones who can look at a shaky number, know exactly how shaky it is, and still make a better decision than the competitor who's either flying blind or trusting a coin flip to one decimal place. So honestly, AI search visibility is genuinely hard to measure because the answers are non-deterministic. The same prompt gives different results, and small gains can be pure noise. So measure the right things: presence, portrayal, sources, and share of voice with a real method. Repeat each prompt, fresh sessions, fixed protocol, defined before you count. Start free before you buy, judge every tool on what it actually measures, and keep revenue as your ground truth. You can't optimize what you can't see. Now you can see it clearly, including its uncertainty, which is the part that actually makes it useful. If you'd like us to run a proper, statistically honest AI visibility baseline for your brand, that's part of our AI search visibility work. The link's below. Thank you for listening. If this was useful, follow GrowifyLabs. We publish multiple videos on topics like this every week. And tell me in the comments, are you measuring your AI visibility yet? And have you ever seen the same prompt name a completely different set of brands on 2 different days? I read every reply.